Hello. Testing. Hello, hello. Hear myself. There we are. Okay, folks. Thanks for joining. We're just waiting for Vegas. Hello. There we go. Now it's working better.
Hi.
What's up? How are you?
How are you? Good. How are you?
It's a crazy week, huh?
You know, today was a crazy day, wasn't it? A lot of volatility. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell's going on? These banks were selling off. So, yeah, crazy times, crazy times.
Let me
Gold was nice today. Gold was good.
give me
Gold
some
plays.
tickers you plan on talking about. I'll tweet them out real quick to get some people on here on those.
You know what? Let's talk about Lucid.
Okay.
And I want to also talk to you guys about there was the other one. Yes, I want to talk about SoFi or Sophie, however one pronounces it. And I think we should also talk about AMD as well. Lisa Sue, what's going on over there? So I think we should talk about Sophie, AMD, and
Lucid.
definitely Lucid, and maybe we'll have, if we have a time, we could throw in some NIO in there too.
Okay.
And NIO, I think those four is good enough, and I can whip through some of these pretty quick, and to respect everyone's time.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just tweet that out.
Sure. And to those of you joining, thank you for coming by. I know you guys have a busy day, so appreciate you guys coming by.
Okay. Tag those tickers so we'll get some people who are interested in those
Great.
names. So let me hold on, get that record. So we'll talk about the market first, so all right.
Sure. Let's talk about that.
All right, 1 second. All right, so welcome back, Vegas. We had you for a great interview a couple weeks ago. We're still trying to figure out how to put that on YouTube, so we'll get that up on YouTube eventually. It's fascinating to get to know your background. And markets are crazy. I've been spending a lot of time in my community, kind of guiding people to, from a big picture perspective, how to handle down and volatile markets like this. This is something I saw coming for the last couple months. And now that we're here, it doesn't make it any easier. I got to tell you that. So, what are your thoughts on the indices and overall big picture?
Well, I think a lot of people were maybe anticipating this pullback. I think the issue and the concerns have been obviously with the Federal Reserve looking to increase these rates. No surprise. The banks looking weak right now. Very interesting with these banks. A lot of the banks have reported the earnings. I mean, Goldman Sachs today had that comment, that they were going to. I forget what it was. Oh yeah, that they were going to sell $12 billion in bonds in 6-part deal. And then as soon as they mentioned that, we saw a lot of volatility in Goldman Sachs in particular. A lot of weakness, definitely in the QQQ tech stocks, SPY, IWM, all looking pretty ugly. So I'm not going to be surprised, honestly, if we have a gap down tomorrow as well, or at least a gap down for the morning, and then who knows how the market decides to shape up, depending what the market participants want to do But I am not going to be surprised to see a gap down tomorrow. I mean, Tesla was selling off today too. Tesla, we had a put and play on this one under 1025, and it went, targeting about $1,000, and it actually even broke that support and went below that. So that sold off pretty heavily. So it was a tough day, but a good way to hedge for sure was gold. We've been talking about gold. I know you've talked about gold as well. And so that's been a nice, if no one likes to go short or buy puts, you got to kind of go like, where's the money flowing? And so we're obviously seeing the money flowing into the gold sector. So like plays like GLD, GDX were great day trades, or even right now for a swing trade. I think those are some really nice setups there for hedging. Even if you are long on things and they're not, they're kind of red right now. I think the gold plays right now could be a good hedge if you're long on some plays, or if you don't want to
Yeah.
buy puts, go into some gold.
Yeah, I just pulled up that GDX chart. I have some GDX I've had for years for my kids in the custodial accounts I have for them. Don't have any for myself, but that's a decent looking chart. I may have to pick some up for myself. What are your thoughts on QQQ? You mentioned Tesla may have something to do with QQQ going down. I'm not sure, but QQQ is right at the 200-day moving average. It's like what is it, a buck away? Very, very close to the 200-day moving average. Just barely touched it today, and it's the first time, man, since the COVID crash. First time since the COVID crash that we're touching the 200 DMA. That's a little bit scary. It's not great when stocks go below the 200 DMA. So what's your thought on the Nasdaq here?
Well, I still think we'll probably see some weakness for a bit. I don't know how many days we'll see that for, but I definitely think it's definitely looking weak. So, we've mentioned in previous spaces, don't go too heavy right now. Just if you are like not really such a swing traders market, in terms of some of these tech plays, you can just day trade them in the direction that they're going, and obviously scalp them, grab that money, and obviously position size accordingly. Don't overexpose yourself and go super heavy. But definitely a good opportunity to day trade some. Not everyone's comfortable swing trading. I'm comfortable doing it, but depends on what. Like I'm comfortable right now trading, swing trading the gold, GLD and GDX, but I'm definitely not in a like I'm not. Let's say swing trading Tesla right now because I'm not comfortable trading Tesla. I'm not swing trading any Apple at all because it was looking really weak. Yesterday it was an overnight swing for a put, and that worked out today. But I mean, normally, people love Apple and will trade Apple, but I'm not comfortable right now trading Apple in either direction. So I'm just, trading what I'm comfortable doing. And I think that as a trader, everyone should be doing the same. Like just trade what you're comfortable doing. And some people are not comfortable swinging anything right now, and that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm looking at that GDX again, man. That's a huge green candle with big volume. What's your objective on that? When you enter a trade, what's your plan? Are you looking at a story to change? Are you looking for the price to reach a certain level? How are you thinking about
Well,
GDX here?
Well, you know what, with GDX and GLD, so, I love to trade the money flow and I love to trade the dark pool. So with GDX and GLD in particular, definitely was trading the money flow levels there. And so I was watching GLD actually for almost 2 weeks. And I was waiting for that break of 171 because I like to also trade on the break of the resistance. And so that was kind of where I had mapped out the resistance was 171. And so maybe, other people were in GLD before. But I was really looking forward to take a trade and go long on it if it would break 171. So I finally got that break today. And then, as you can see, as soon as it did break that 171 level, I mean, that action did come in. Same with GDX. The resistance I saw was $32. And so as soon as that resistance did break, we saw a move, pretty quickly. to 32.94. Still targeting like on that one there. I have a target of like $34. And on GLD, looking for 175 to 176. So still very good strength in both of them. GLD has a bigger move coming, so definitely liking that one. But I like to wait for the break of the resistance when I go into the trade.
So I know we didn't get to those four stocks that I'm fixated on GLD a little bit. So going back, those of you who weren't on the last call with Vegas, what we do at Story Trading is to find trade ideas based on our four pillars. We look at stocks holistically, so we're looking at fundamentals, technicals, catalysts, and sentiment. And doesn't mean that all four necessarily have to be there, but understanding and trying to get information on these four pillars of information gives you a holistic view of what's going on with the stock and makes you a much better informed trader and investor. That's the way we look at it. So with GLD, you talked about the technicals. I'm wondering, and by the way, just so reason I brought you here is because I've chatted with you on Wolf Financial Spaces, and your trading style really stood out among all of the other traders and panelists on those spaces because to me you were one of the standouts in terms of trying to meld together other aspects, not just purely technicals, which most of the other traders seem to be purely technicals, but you're also looking at catalysts and fundamentals. So let's do a little bit of story trading. I'm gonna, let's do that story trading method with GLD, and then we'll move to the other stocks. So we talked about the technicals. What is it about maybe catalysts or fundamentals, or have you given that any thought about why you think, why is this happening, right? Why technicals to me is a trailing indicator, right? There's some event that has happened, some fundamental change or a catalyst change causing that technical level of breakout. And I was wondering if you have any thoughts on why that's happening right now.
Well, I think with the treasury yields are the cause of concern for obviously a lot of investors. And I think with the 10-year treasury yield hitting 1.87% before declining this afternoon, we saw obviously inflation concerns picking up. And, gold is viewed as a hedge relative to the stock market. So, I've always told people, when people are panicking in the market, what do people run to? They're going to run to gold. So we know that as the Fed hike rates and real yields are likely to become less negative, something that is bearish for gold. So, accordingly, the price of gold may stagnate, and according to some experts out there. But I think the flattening yield curve and concerns about the economy have really driven the gold stocks obviously higher. And I think the price of the yellow metal did appreciate today. We obviously, gold, as I mentioned, has been a kind of a safe haven asset for investors. And if we see money flowing into gold, as we've seen with the dark pool, we've seen a lot of money going into gold. These capital flows will result in further appreciation. So, obviously, as an investor, this is a bet that is worth taking. And the other thing too is that Barrick Gold saw its stock price soar on the announcement of its full year production results. So the company did grow its gold production to 4.44 million ounces, near the lower end of its guidance range. So I think that other gold miner indices are also tracking the gold sector, surging on that news as well. So I think we could see that, GLD, GDX. There's also obviously Nugget. There's HMY. There's also NEM, which is Newmont Mining, and then I think HMY Harmony Gold as well. So, and then obviously Barrick Gold, which is GOLD. So that one was like, that was popping on my scanner a lot today. But the ones with the money flow in particular were the VanEck Vector Gold ETF and obviously the SPDR Gold Shares ETF, which is GLD.
That's why I love you, man. You didn't even have to prepare for that. I knew you'd have the answer. You have all the fundamentals. You're coming with all kinds of data about gold. So that's wonderful. Something that's kind of confused me, you mentioned inflation. I've learned, I've been trained to stay away from gold because over the last several years, it really hasn't. Yeah, that's conventional wisdom. It's supposed to go up with inflation. It's supposed to be a market hedge. But, you know, it's a little interesting to me that now when we're talking about raising rates, money's going into gold. Like, why wasn't it being pumped into gold since they were printing money like at the COVID lows and the Fed started coming in? I would have thought gold would have exploded then, but it really didn't, which was a little confusing to me. And then the other thing is, as far as a market hedge, we saw that over the past year or two, like crypto and Bitcoin became the new hedge, especially a hedge versus a debased currency. It was Bitcoin all the way. Now, all of a sudden, gold is getting it back. Do you have any insights into why kind of that delayed reaction here?
You know what? Honestly, I don't. I'm just basically gold's just really just taken off just really from the I think really just from the treasury yields and just people just flocking there as a safe as a hedge, really. That's kind of like how I've been watching. I mean, I've been watching the gold. At least I'll say I've been watching it for the last few weeks. I don't really like to trade silver. I find silver very boring, moves very slow, although it's had quite a little move here. Silver's moved as well, but I just find silver very boring. But silver. I mean, gold has just obviously just been a safe haven. So I think that's kind of what people are focusing on. I normally don't really look at the gold prices. I don't really trade it very often, but seeing that obviously with the market with those interest rates and things like that, with the 10-year treasury yield heading up, obviously it seemed to be something where investors felt safe, and then obviously that's kind of where it was people were going. So I wasn't really looking at it. I don't normally, like I said, trade it on a regular basis. Probably maybe twice a year, three times a year, if that.
Okay, awesome, got it. Let's move to, you mentioned a few tickers. Let's start with SoFi, because I know that had a big catalyst that's all over the place. Um,
Yeah, let's talk about
SoFi
SoFi. So you guys
held its
know,
gains. Yep, let us know what's going
yeah,
on here.
SoFi. So SoFi, obviously, I don't know if a lot of you that are listening, but like financial technology stocks, and we know that obviously SoFi had the bank charter announcement, and the thing is, they've had a really rough start, I think, to the new year. The thing is that they've had two key regulatory approvals, and it's becoming a public entity also after merging with Social Capital, which is a special purpose acquisition company, a SPAC, which is run by, everyone knows, Chamath Pilapitia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, and I don't think he cares how I say his name. So we'll just call him Chamath. But he obviously running that company, and they did announce that they got the federal approval from the OCC, which is obviously the Office of the Controller of the Currency, and the Federal Reserve, to become a bank holding company. So I think this is great. It was a 3-year request for them to finally get this. So 3 years in the making, and finally they got that confirmation. So they did, back in October, they did also get a preliminary approval for the bank charter. And the thing is that, let's, like, technically speaking, it's not really a bank. They do require, obviously, they do rely on partnerships, and they also have plans to acquire Golden Pacific Bancorp, which is a community-based lender in California. And the thing is that they will be operating SoFi Bank as a bank subsidiary to Golden Pacific. And this transaction was something they already had in the plans from last year. They will be closing that in February. But the thing is that with SoFi in particular, I mean, this is a fintech stock, I think super cheap. I mean, we know at one point that the stock, if you go to the historical prices, I mean, we know that the stock was, I think it was at, um, gosh, I think it was like $23. Let me just see how far back it
The
went.
high, yeah, it went up to like
Yeah,
28.
28. So this to me is a stock that, maybe people may not like it, but if you like fintech, you got to think of the story, right? Because I think the fact is that there is, rising rates are going to be obviously making banks, popular. I think bank stocks are going to go up, and I think that SoFi has obviously pulled back significantly, that it actually makes the price quite attractive. If you guys recall, Anthony Noto, who's SoFi's CEO, he was once the COO of Twitter, and before that, he was the CFO of the National Football League. So, I think he's a good person to run the show here, and I think that we should definitely be watching this because they also have, they mentioned in their third quarter, they had 377,000 new clients, which is a lot. They also have over 2.9 million customers. I think they're continuing to expand. And a lot of the analysts that I was reading about, they were saying that they expect their revenue to grow 43% this year, 2022, to $1.4 billion. So the thing is that they don't expect it to show as a profit, and they're saying that the consensus estimate is a loss of about 32 cents this year, or almost 256 million. But the thing is that the average price of the stock, I mean, it should be around, in my opinion, at least $21, $22. I think it's definitely not a get rich quick stock. I think if you're going to consider this, you definitely have to understand that this is a long-term play. This is the kind of stock that you would consider when it's kind of like no one likes it anymore because they don't like the way it's behaving. They're like, oh, this stock sucks. But it's not. You have to look at it as, you know what, this is an opportunity, you know? And so fintech's not going to go away. Banks are not going to go away. Technology is here to stay. So I think that, you know, if you are going to consider fintech, I think this is a good bet on a growth play. And I think the fact is that, you know, it's a great technology stock, and I think that it's definitely going to replace and be extremely competitive, I think, with a lot of other banks out there. Like, I think it's going to be great competition for a bank, for example, like Bank of America. So I think over time, their platform's pretty is pretty good and pretty stable, and I think that the numbers will speak for itself as time evolves. So again, this is not like buy now and you'll see your money double. This will be something that, you know, you have to have the patience for it, and you have to want to like put the money in and just like ignore it. You know, not like, oh, I'm going to put the money in, and then if you need it, it may not move anytime soon. So you have to kind of be like, you know, this is like an investment. You have to just set it and forget it with this one in particular. So definitely, it had a nice move today. So, you know, keep it on watch. It had a nice pullback to like 1337, went to 1439. It's around 1408 right now. So
Yeah, you're moving
keep this one on
markets.
watch.
Look at that.
We're
It's
moving the markets. You guys buying
a-
stocks when I'm talking, right? we're moving we're
as
moving
you're
them. We got
talking, we
that we
got
got that kind of pull here.
yeah.
But yeah, I think, you know, just keep a watch on SoFi, because I want to mention as well, you know, this technology you know, is great. I mean, they have a lot of growth, and remember, they started off as a student loan refinance program, and they did expand their portfolio. They built 3 business segments, including a lending, a financial, and a technology one. And so you have to remember, when you're investing in something like this, a fintech stock, you have to always keep in mind that the need for tech and finance is not going to stop. So, you know, people are used to, like, think about yourself as a banker. I mean, no one goes to the bank anymore, like barely. Okay, like everyone does everything on their phone. They take pictures of their checks. It goes into your bank. They do wire transfers. They do e-transfers. They pay the bills. Like, you just do everything on your phone. So SoFi is going to have like a one-stop solution for everything, and whether you need a home loan, student loan, investments, they're just going to have everything. And so I think that, you know, obviously, you know, it's going to be one that's going to expand. And I think the fintech industry is here to stay. And I think, Sophie, if you compare it to, let's say, other fintech stocks, it's so much cheaper than all those, and it has high growth potential with a successful fintech product and solid revenue. So I think this would be good to watch in the coming quarters, and we'll watch to see if this stock can actually see a rebound eventually, as we start to see returns and valuations come back to the table. So I think that's something to watch. I think they have very impressive numbers, and I like
Yeah,
those. I like those numbers. So definitely keep a watch on Sophie. You know, even if you're thinking about it, do your due diligence, but just keep this one on your watch list and see what it does in the next quarter, and you'll kind of keep track on it.
yeah, or the next 5 minutes. Look at it. Something's going on. There must have been a mention. I don't see any news, but maybe it's being mentioned on CNBC or something like
Oh,
that.
look, it's there. Well, I will say that the Nigerian brothers, they were talking about SoFi today as well. They mentioned it on their, I guess they have like a halftime show, I think, or a lunchtime
Yeah.
show, and so they did mention SoFi, and there was also some options activity on SoFi. I mean, I did like the March calls for SoFi, so definitely keep a watch. Oh, you know what? It's gonna also be on Jim Cramer's Mad Money tonight, so I
Oh,
think
that's
he's
why it's going up.
so it's I don't know if Mad Money's on right now. I think it's on. It's like 6 o'clock Eastern time.
Right.
But Jim Cramer will be having. I don't know if he was having on the show, but they're going to be on Mad Money tonight. So well, it'll be interesting what Jim Cramer thinks about SoFi. But I wonder if he'll say
Yeah.
bye, 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 bye,
Bye,
bye.
bye, bye. Yeah, I think that's probably real. Anytime someone's on that Jim Cramer show, you get all kinds of moves like this, but right before the show, I've noticed that, so it must be related to that.
Well, there you
Um,
go. Okay, well there you go.
cool.
So it'll be
Hey,
interesting to watch. I'm gonna have to see what he says about it too.
awesome. I'm glad you talked on the fundamentals. So we got the fundamentals and the catalysts. You mentioned a little bit about the price and the technicals. So that's what we like to do, take a holistic view about stocks. So that's the story trade perspective from Vegas on SoFi. You had a few others here. What do you want to handle next? You got Lucid,
You know
AMD,
what?
and Neo.
Oh yeah, okay, so let's talk about NIO because I talk about NIO a lot, and the thing is that I think it's definitely obviously electric vehicle company, and NIO is a crazy one to trade. It goes up, it goes down. Some people are saying that I think one of the analysts from Morgan Stanley was saying that that the deliveries might be disappointing with NIO. But I don't know. Like, NIO to me is kind of like a dark horse. It has a lot going for it. They have a lot of expansion coming up. I think it is going to be one of the best electric vehicle stocks for 2022. We know that in Beijing, they're stepping up regulatory pressure on domestic companies, and it is one of these high-profile casualties with NIO. And I think they mentioned that their deliveries in 2021 for December, they had 10,489 vehicles, which was a very impressive 49.7% year over year gain, and which is a very healthy number actually for the final quarter. The thing is that they are going to have their ET7, which is their first electric sedan, which is going to come equipped with both long range capabilities and autonomous driving technology. However, not everyone may like what NIO is doing because, they're afraid of the China stock market. There has been a lot of volatility in Chinese stocks. Internet companies have been getting clamped down by the government regulatories, and it's not surprising. And the Chinese government is known for a more hands-on approach to oversight, and so sometimes there's a lot of intense pressure, and the Chinese auto market's been largely escaping the wrath of the regulators. And so I think that the recent moves in Beijing add to that uncertainty. So maybe NIO's not really getting the right price point that it should be at. But I will say that the investors of NIO, they love seeing this growth. They did have a very impressive quarterly delivery there that I talked about. And I think that definitely keep NIO on watch. I mean, I think that they have a lot going on for it. They have a platform called, I think, oh, I also read today too, speaking of NIO, that they did do their first um, battery swap station in Norway today, which went live. So that was interesting. So keep a watch, on NIO. And I think that electric battery swapping is going to be really popular, and I think it's going to be a money maker for them too. So definitely, this could be have a little bit of a tough start to the year, but we'll definitely looking to see what NIO is going to do later this year. But I think it's definitely one to watch. I think it's going to be a lot of sentiment on it. I think it's a great electric vehicle play, and I think this is something to definitely watch.
Yeah, well, when it comes to sentiment, I'm glad you mentioned the EV. You can get a premium because of the positive sentiment in the EV space. And you also mentioned China, that can give you a discount compared to quote unquote, fair market, fair fundamental value. You called that out correctly. But can you tell me a little bit about how you think of valuation here? I see the EV to revenue ratio is 8.5, which compares to 22 for Tesla. But of course, this isn't Tesla. You can only have one Tesla with that huge premium for Elon Musk. So, how do you think of fundamentals in terms of is this cheap or not?
Well, I really just look at the company's deliveries and losses. I mean, in their third quarter, they had, I think they had 726.3 million Chinese yuan, which is about 114.3 million. They did deliver 24,439 vehicles. And in the second quarter, they did have 21,896 vehicles, but there was a bit of an adjusted loss of about 80.6 million. So people might think that when they read those numbers or listen to these numbers, they think, "Oh my God, Nio's just going the wrong way." But the thing is that if you look at the metrics during the same period last year in 2020, if you go back to 2020, they did have in the third quarter, they actually delivered 12,000, 206 cars. So, this past Q3 they did 24,439. So, to me, what's more important really is that the adjusted loss per vehicle is improving by 60% year over year in this third quarter and second quarter. So I think what's important is that when they report their fourth quarter this coming March, that'll be really something to really pay attention to, because we know that their fourth quarter delivery numbers climbed 44% year over year, and the adjusted loss per delivered vehicle that quarter was $7,906. Which came into about 137.1 million. So, if they do improve their adjusted loss for per delivered vehicle by 50%, I think their adjusted loss might come around maybe 100 million, maybe a little bit less. But the thing is, watch for those numbers, because the fourth quarter numbers, they're coming out like in the next like 6 weeks. So, and the other thing too is that, competition's heating up with Nio. So maybe, they might have to spend some money on some advertising. But, I think word of mouth about their products is what's going to actually give them ultimately some very good reviews. I think they'll get a good lift in sales. And I think the fact that the stock, I mean, if you actually look at the stock, I mean, I've been watching this stock for a long time. And if you notice, every time it goes to like $28, it kind of hovers around there. And so to me, the fact that it's below $30 is actually a bargain. And, if you watch the stock, I normally don't really see it go below 28. It kind of has some pretty good support there at $28. So, if you're looking at these electric vehicle stocks, keep a watch. Like if even when it goes like to 28, it barely stays there. Every time it goes down there, it's like they're grabbing those dips, they're buying those dips. And so, this pretty attractive price point at the where it is right now. And I just think it's, one to watch. I think for 2022, it'll be very interesting how the price of the stock shapes up in March when we get those fourth quarter numbers. But I mean, I always like to keep in mind when I see these opportunities like this is the fact that the stock was trading. We know where it was in the last 52 weeks. I mean, this to me is a bargain. And when it's trading at $64.60 and it's like under $30 right now, it's like, holy crap, you got to pay attention to these opportunities. And so, does Nio have a story? And I believe they do. I think that they have a lot of growth coming. I think they have their ET7 is going to do really well. I think that they're going to get great reviews. And, they have a lot of expansion as well coming up in Europe. And, I like the fact that they have, the mentions of the battery swap station that went live in Norway today. And so I think, their subscription model is going to do really well for them. So I think we should keep a watch. I think what's important as well is that the electric vehicle deliveries with NIO has consistently been going up. And I think we should not ignore that information. So I think that, if you're looking for opportunity, again, keep stocks like this on your watch, and you know there could be an opportunity for you, and as an investor. But I like to look at for investing opportunities as well. And I love the fact that already to the start of the new year, they did mention all their deliveries increase. I mean, these numbers are huge, but big numbers. They're big numbers. That NIO's deliveries increased by 109%, and in December, and also it's just like these numbers are just so big, like 49%, 44%. Just you cannot ignore it. So I think there's lots coming with NIO, and I think the battery as a service is going to be big, and I think that their ET7 is going to start delivering, and I think that the flagship premium smart electric sedan in March 2022 is going to be big for NIO. I think we're not done hearing from NIO, and I think we'll see the stock do really well. And I was looking at their actual one of their cars, and I don't even know if this was the ET7 that I was looking at. It kind of reminded me of the Tesla, like the Tesla SUV. So I'm like, oh my God, it looks just like Tesla. So very interesting. It has the same look of Tesla. But
Where
if
are
you
their
look,
cars? Where's their target market? Is it in China or elsewhere out of China?
well, I think definitely in China, but obviously they're looking to, target different parts of Europe as well. So I think they do have lots of other things in the pipeline. I don't think they just want to stay there. I think they have a lot of other segments of where they're going to be going, and I think they're going to expand to other countries, and I think that's great. I don't think they want to stay centralized just in China. So I think that should also be something to keep an open mind about.
Okay, great. Did he have any numbers there? I got everything right in front of you. It looks like in terms of their cash position and their burn rate, do they have enough money on hand? Or are they going to need capital?
You know what? They did mention on their, on the November 9, they did talk about their sales, and let me just see here their cash. They have about $7.3 billion, so I think they're good, cash wise. They also did mention too. I saw something else here on NIO that they did announce the repurchase rate also as well for 4.5% convertible senior notes that are due in 2024. So I think cash wise, NIO's in good shape.
Okay, great. Yeah, and yeah, I just want to kind of reiterate here that the sentiment issue I've identified as we've gone through the story trading process in our community, that the number one biggest factor influencing a share price uh, above or below that fundamental fair value is really comes down to sentiment, right? So you see again that huge premium Elon Musk gets for his innovation and the excitement people have for what he might build in the future, and then you get those huge discounts in Chinese stocks. We see it in Alibaba, which looks ridiculously cheap, but again, people are worried about China. So, that's something definitely keep in mind. I don't know how in your mind, you resolve that, but, I kind of, the, the way I use that is if you know the issues causing an undervaluation, in this case, definitely China has a lot to do with it. So if you see some sort of catalyst in the news which would improve, those business relations, or if someone from China says, hey, we're never going to pull a stock from the US market, or the VTE structure is not an issue. I don't know if this is a VTE. But like if you're aware of those things that are causing a discount, you'll know how to react, quickly when those pressures are alleviated, and vice versa. So it just has a huge, huge, huge impact on market pricing, as sentiment does. So you had a couple others. Let's see, what were they?
Oh yeah, we could talk
Lucid,
about.
AMD.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention AMD. I mean, AMD's been great. I love Lisa Su. She's great, and she's a great woman CEO. I love when a woman CEO is managing such a great company. And the thing is with AMD, obviously they did win the chip design race with Intel, and it's been, we saw the stock AMD is actually down about 5% on AMD, and Intel stock was actually up. and it really has to do with more valuation and not really the dynamics of the company. The thing to look at AMD is that, we know Lisa Su's done a fantastic job. I mean, I've been following her for a long time. She became the CEO back in 2014. And I don't know if anyone recalls, but AMD used to be $2 a share. And, one of my traders in my room, Bascat, reminded me of that. I was like, I'm like, what was the price of AMD? He's like, do you know it was $2? I'm like, oh my gosh. And, AMD, obviously, their situation has reserved because at one point it was considered like a little baby beside Intel. And so the situation's kind of reversed, and we could see that their Ryzen chips have defined the state of the art for microprocessors. We know that also AMD designs the Radeon, which is the graphic processor not named NVIDIA. And we know that Ryzen and Radeon have had gross profits of 48% in the third quarter of 2021. And the thing is that I think one of the analysts from KeyBank gave AMD a price target of $155, which is about 12%, maybe a little more than where it closed back on Jan 14th. So the thing is, AMD has been supply constrained really because it sold its production capacity in 2009. It did create Global Foundries, which is a ticker called GFS, which came public last year. And then they switched most of its production to Taiwan Semiconductors, TSM in 2018. So, thing is with AMD, I mean, this is a fantastic opportunity. It's still in the marketplace. AMD is still leading. I think that the chip shortages are going to continue. And I think also that the market's going to position itself for, chip abundance. And I think that, AMD is a great opportunity longer term. But I think also if you actually compare AMD with Intel, because you see Intel is only, it's half the price now. It's now that's become the baby to AMD. But Intel too, something that is probably undervalued as well. And so, that one should be on watch as well. I mean, if you like AMD, you should also be watching probably Intel. It's obviously much cheaper, but something to watch too because they're obviously both in the same space. So definitely, AMD is one that I think still has more growth coming.
Oops, sorry, little
Did I
tech issue
lose
there.
you?
No, I'm
Is it
good.
Twitter Spaces?
I'm here.
Uh, oh, and they also mentioned today too with AMD, they did. I think Cohen raised their rates to 150, and they had some volume weakness a couple weeks ago because Microsoft was hiring some key Apple engineers to design software chips, and so then that caused a bit of a pullback with AMD. And then they had some news also today that the AMD Radeon Pro W6000 series. Has apparently has high efficiency, powerful CAD performance for the mainstream workstation users. So they're saying that that's doing really well, and I guess AMD's doing really good. But Barclays has an overweight target to 148. Cohen gave it an upgrade to 150. I know that Nigerian Brothers mentioned it too. Some unusual activity back on January 11. So AMD very highly valued as a company. But it is winning the race. It is outpacing Intel, but definitely, Intel. Now that I'm thinking about it, AMD's market cap is about $61 billion behind that of Intel. So definitely keep a watch on AMD for sure, but don't take your eyes off Intel either. Definitely keep that one on watch too.
Nice, two solid companies for sure, and I like that. I like that idea in this kind of environment where risk assets are being sold off. These are the best companies to get in my experience. When things bounce back, you're going to see the money going back into these market leaders and high quality companies first, rather than back into those growth companies that, with really absurd price to sales ratios. So, making a list of those solid companies, AMD definitely one of them. It sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, I like it. And Lisa Su is really good. Like she knows she's a great CEO, and I think that she stated like she's been on Jim Cramer on Mad Money many times, and She has stated many times that the company can achieve a long-term sales growth rate of 20%. She says it all the time. So she's like really confident. Um, you know, she even spoke at the CES Tech conference, and very easy to understand why she's very confident about the future. And I think that AMD is a solid stock and a solid buy, even at these price points here. Even at today, it went to like 127.85. So it was around 134.57 earlier in the day. So definitely, opportunity here on AMD as well. But she's confident. I like it.
Sounds good. I'm excited to get into this Lucid one because
Oh my God, that one's a crazy one.
it's well, I yeah, let me tell you what I think about it a little
Yeah,
bit
I'd love to hear what you
because
think about it.
not much. I don't know. Yeah, I'll tell you. Just a minute. I listen. I was in Tesla in the very early days. Man, if I kept it, it would have been up. Same story as everyone else, right? It would have been up thousands of percent or whatever. But I never got back in. Never ended up holding Tesla for more than a couple months or a few months in the early days. And I know a lot of people are looking at Lucid as like a second chance. Like I miss Tesla, I'm getting into Lucid. I cannot tell. Like I'm talking about regular everyday people who are not trading or investing experts. I hear that sentiment from a ton of people. And for whatever reason, like Lucid has earned that reputation somehow. Somehow they see it as like to be as good as Tesla. So, we're talking about this is hard for me to get in. It's a $66 billion market cap. They just kind of started. I don't even know if there's any numbers available, but how do you justify 66 billion market cap? It seems like most of the people into this, it's purely sentiment related. It's like, I miss Tesla. This seems like it could be the next Tesla. I don't care what the market cap is. I'm getting in. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, you know what? I think that one of the things to keep in mind is that the lockup period for legacy holders of Lucid did expire today. So I think that was pretty significant. And, a lot of legacy shareholders of Lucid own, I think it was like 1.19 billion shares out of the 1.61 billion outstanding. So, the volume today, there was not really any, I didn't really see a sell off actually in Lucid. I mean, it did go to 42.44. But, the volume was it basically looked average to me. I didn't feel that shareholders were selling out in masses. I think that the shareholders are choosing not to sell right now. And I also, I think that they can obviously sell at any time in the future. We know that the PIPE shareholder, which is Magnetar Financial, has decided to wait until the end of the year to cut their position. And I think they were an early backer of Lucid. They had invested $250 million into the company back in 2017. And then they bought an additional 10 million shares of Lucid for $15 a share as a PIPE investor. So I think what's going to happen is the people that are owners of Lucid or have shares of Lucid are also going to be watching like what is the Saudi Public Investment Fund doing, which is known as the PIF. Okay, so Saudi Public Investment Fund. And that's because the PIF is the largest legacy shareholder of Lucid stock. They have a 67.2%, and usually they hold investments for a very long periods of time. And so what's happening though is investors are really not anticipating a big, huge sell-off. So during the previous lockup expiry for the PIPE shareholders, shares of Lucid stock fell more than 20% the week before the expiry date. And so, the next expiry date for Lucid is going to be apparently January 23, 2023, and Churchill sponsors will be allowed to sell their shares. They did update an S1 filing where they do actually own 51.7 million shares of Lucid. And since Churchill sponsors own significantly less shares than the legacy Lucid shareholders, the next expiry event should not be as notable as the one of today. So, I think Lucid has a lot of different things going for it. I will say it's not, it's tougher on Lucid, I think, to trade than NIO. That one's very volatile, but I think a lot of people were expecting a price catalyst on Lucid, and I think also there was a filing to the Securities Commission in November that the lockup expiry for the legacy shareholders would expire 180 days after the closing of the SPAC. And so obviously that was, we saw today, January 19. And so, there's a lot of, as I mentioned, there was a lot of concerns about it. But I mean, I didn't really see anything happening. I didn't see the price narrative for Lucid dramatically change. And so I think that we'll have to watch and see what's going to happen with Lucid really as time evolves with what are they going to do with their product line and if there's an opportunity. But, Lucid's just another one of those that one to watch for 2022 on Lucid. So, I mean, I've seen the cars look nice, a lot of things look nice, but is there an opportunity to take advantage of the dip? And the stock, is not trading within its 52-week high. It was like $64.86. So we'll have to wait and see, what has Lucid got in store for future shareholders. But I think that there wasn't really a sell-off going on. So, and we know that, don't forget, like, you mentioned Tesla, but we know that the CEO of Lucid, Peter Rawlinson, you guys know that he was the engineer for Tesla, and he is the one that engineered the Model S. And, he's running the show here. So people are expecting a lot from him. And, it's hard to compare this to Tesla. I mean, this is a baby, right? And so, the Lucid Air sedan, which was produced back on October 30th. I mean, we know that, Motor Trend named Lucid Car of the Year, and that the company said that they have more than like 17,000 reservations. But the thing is that, they're going to have some growth at I think, their plant in Arizona, and they have a lot of expansion projects underway to allow them to produce like 90,000 cars by the end of 2023. And they're also planning to open a plant in China and the Middle East. So I guess we'll have to see. I mean, the earnings was tough. They did have a Q3 loss of 42 cents per share versus the analyst expectation of a loss of 25 cents a share. But it's funny because the stock had jumped 24% on the day because investors were impressed with their growth projection. So you see, like, nobody cared about those numbers. They're just like, well, we don't care about that because that quarter is now over. What's happening with the growth projections? And then when they heard the numbers, the stock did pop. So the thing is, Tesla's kind of like the big brother. And I guess we'll see what happens. But I think that the stock is too low. I think the price is too low. I think that we'll have to see if there's going to be an opportunity here now that the lockup period's out of the way. How's the stock going to shape up going forward? So that's, I think, kind of like my thoughts on Lucid.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on the lockup. That was actually my top question. I noticed the
Yeah.
technicals, by the way, really good. This is holding up much better than like every other stock. It's above all the key moving averages, especially in the weekly candles. The 20/50 still very, very bullish. Even the daily moving averages, it's holding the 20 and 50 DMAs, so pretty
Yeah.
strong technically. Hey, do you have time for a question from the audience? Someone has a
Yeah.
question here, it looks like.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go ahead.
All right, let's try that.
Hopefully I can answer you. Hopefully I can answer you.
Derelict Life or comments. Go ahead.
Hey, just had a question regarding Luce. I don't know if I heard correctly or not, but is the lockup on that start tonight after like 11 p.m. or something like that?
No, the lockup actually it's now over. Like today was the lockup period expired, but that expired completely. Today was the day that it was expired, January 19.
Did I
In the
lose
morning of
connection?
January 19th?
I'm sorry?
The morning of the 19th, they're able to sell today?
Yeah, they could have sold today, but it looks like that they didn't. It looks like, there was no selling off happening with
Hello?
the.
Yeah, we hear you. Do you have some different information on that, Derelict? You're saying something about 11 p.m. tonight? All right. Well, I think we lost them. So,
Oh, Well, I think, like I said, the lockup
Hello?
period, the lockup expires today. So it expires today. So, what time does it expire? I mean, even if it's like, the market's obviously open all day today. It's open till 8. So even if it expires tonight, like, what are they going to do? Sell tomorrow? I think that the volatility would have happened today. So the expiry of the lockup expired today for Lucid, but I didn't see anything unusual with the volume. It was trending near its daily average. It didn't really look like there was any implications with the lockup expiry for Lucid. So, and like I said, I think it looked to me that shareholders were not selling out in masses. So it looks like they're choosing not to sell today. So
Hmm.
that doesn't mean that they're not going to sell or that there won't be some sort of sell off now that the lockup period's finished. Maybe they want to sell it when it goes up a little more.
Okay. All right. Let's take one last question and then we'll call it a night. We got from Options at Work. Comments or question for Vegas?
Yeah, I haven't really been following it too closely, but I thought I read that it was tonight at midnight. But I could certainly be wrong. Yeah, I am curious what you think we'll be looking at for SPY. I actually wound up grabbing some calls today at market close. Um, I feel like we'll open green tomorrow. And I don't really plan on holding them. I was going to do a swing trade for about 4 weeks, but I think coming into Wednesday, I still think it's going to be some pretty murky water. So I'm just curious what you think we'll be looking at for, I guess, leading up into Wednesday.
Oh, we lost Vegas. Let's bring her back. Hey,
Oh,
Vegas.
sorry,
I don't know if you
I lost
heard.
you guys. I'm sorry. Can you tell me what
That's
the
okay.
question? Can you repeat the question?
He just had a question. She had a question on SPY.
Oh,
Do you think there's a good time to get in on that?
oh my God, Spy, so creepy. Honestly, Spy's a beast. I mean, you know, are you looking to go long on Spy? I mean, you have,
No, so I grabbed some calls today at market close.
yeah.
I feel like we're going to be green in the morning, and I was planning on doing a swing for the next like 4 weeks.
Oh
But
my.
leading, especially into Wednesday, I just feel
Hmm.
like that's not the best idea. So I'm pretty sure if it does wind up working in my favor, I'm going to take my profit and run. But I'm kind of curious what you think is going to happen leading into Wednesday.
Oh my God. Well, you know what? Like today's Wednesday, right? So, I
Next
mean,
Wednesday for
oh, next Wednesday.
FOMC meeting.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know how it is with FOMC. I mean, everything gets so choppy, and these Fed speakers, they don't shut up. I mean, they just talk too much. They say the same thing, and then the market, you notice whenever there's a FOMC meeting, everything's choppy or things are really quiet, and then when the FOMC is over, boom, the market decides, oh, it pops, it pulls back, reverses. Many things happen with FOMC. But I will say right now, I still expect some volatility on the SPY. I don't really think right now, like even if I look at um, you know calls and puts, I mean, I am seeing like the volume on puts is really heavy. I mean, if even if you look at the option volume, very heavy put side. So it looks like the bears are really going in there. And even like if you're bullish, I mean, a lot of traders that are normally bullish, I mean, they're buying SPY puts right now, they're hedging right now because they are still anticipating a bit of a pullback. So I still think we're going to gap down tomorrow. Hard to say, like, what do I see happening next Wednesday? I just think a lot of volatility. I don't think we're done with the volatility. I mean, I was expecting the SPY to actually head towards, let me see what I was looking at. I was thinking it would go towards like my target on SPY, honestly, was around 450. And so you could see right now we're like at 451.42. So that's kind of like my land in the sand. If it goes below that, it's not going to look too pretty. So the fact that we went really this low was pretty ugly. So if you're going to buy calls like you're doing or like what you're thinking of doing, um, I would just definitely go far out. Like, don't, no, I wouldn't even do February. I would go like into March.
I'm going to give you some homework options. Options at work. I know you wanted to say something, but let me give you a little quick perspective on this, and we're going to wrap it up in just a minute. But SPY has broken down below some of the daily moving averages. And when that happens, the 20 and 50, right? So it's below the 20 and 50, not quite to the 200. But when that happens, I pull up my weekly candles, and something I'd like your take on, maybe offline, tag us at Story Trading. The 20 period weekly moving average on SPY, it closed below it today. And that's been a line, it's been riding up that bullish line since the COVID recovery. It flirted with it a couple times, but today it looked like maybe the biggest cross below it since. And I'm a little bit worried that maybe the next stop will be the 50-week moving average, which is all the way down at 436. And I don't know if Vegas, that's what you're worried about. If it breaks 450, you see 436 as the next support, because that's what I'm seeing
Yeah,
now.
you know what? I actually think I'm not like worried because I mean I don't have like SPY calls in play or anything, so I'm not worried about. But I'm saying that if it does break down below 450, I'm not going to be surprised to see this go down towards. I think you're right on there. I think 435, 436. I saw today a ton of options flow. I will say in particular, for the February monthlies, and I saw tons of flow on the 433 puts in particular. And if you actually take a look at the volume on the SPY puts for February 18, 433 puts, they are already going in there. And there's over 31,000 in there so far just today alone. So definitely, looks like preparing for some volatility and to the downside, obviously, in my opinion. So that's what I see potentially happening, volatility to the downside, and I think it's probably going to break that support, like that 450 could break, and then we're going to go lower. So, I mean, even the open interest is really big on these option puts for for February. So, and the money flow was really big on those. Like, I mean, we had some serious sweepers, like, and we're not talking like, oh, a couple 100,000. Like, I saw some serious sweepers coming in. I think it was about 5, 6, 7, about $8 million in sweepers just on, and probably it's probably a lot bigger, but I probably calculated about $15 million in sweepers just on puts, particularly, and very aggressive sweepers. Like, they were buying 10,000 contracts at a time, for that particular strike, 433 Feb 18. So definitely keep a watch on that.
Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you. We could be here all night, but our time is up. Thank you so much for joining us, Vegas. That was an awesome conversation. If you're not already following Vegas, make sure to tap her profile, make sure to follow her. Follow us at Story Trading. We got 2 spaces a week. The next one we do Sunday nights, 8 p.m. We do a weekly review of what happens in the VIP community. Danny just joined us as we're about to close it off. But so Sunday at 8 p.m. And then we are going to do a regular thing with Vegas, hopefully every week. Stay tuned for possibly a different time, though. We're going to try to do it earlier, 4:30. We're not sure what day yet. So just watch our account and Vegas account, and you'll be up to date on when those are happening. Vegas, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I want to thank everyone for coming by and listening to me talking, and also sharing my thoughts here with Ben as well, because kind of like just talk about like what is going on with the stock, why do you like it? It's not just okay fundamentals, it's like beyond the fundamentals. Like, open your eyes and like see, like think about like opportunities, like look at the story, like what is it trying to tell you? And just like, stories like Ford. I was screaming about Ford last year when it was like $9, and like look what happened to Ford. I mean, it's just gotten amazing, and everyone hated Ford when I was talking about. They're like, "Oh my God, such a boring stock," and it's okay. We don't need anyone to agree with you, anyways. You're your own trader. It's your money, but it's always about the story and the opportunity. So we love sharing it. If there's any stocks that you're interested, maybe that you want to hear us talk about, let us know. We'll look at maybe talking about it next time we have a story episode.
About the market first, so all right.
Sure. Let's talk about that.
All right, one sec. All right, so welcome back, Vegas. We had you for a great interview a couple weeks ago. We're still trying to figure out how to put that on YouTube, so we'll get that up on YouTube eventually. It's fascinating. Get to know your background. And markets are crazy. I've been spending a lot of time in my community kind of guiding people to, from a big picture perspective, how to handle down and volatile markets like this. This is something I saw coming for the last couple months. And now that we're here, it doesn't make it any easier. I got to tell you that. So, what are your thoughts on the indices and overall big picture?
Well, I think a lot of people were maybe anticipating this pullback. I think the issue and the concerns have been obviously with the Federal Reserve looking to increase these rates. No surprise. The banks looking weak right now. Very interesting with these banks. A lot of the banks have reported the earnings. I mean, Goldman Sachs today had that comment, that they were going to. I forget what it was. Oh yeah, that they were going to sell $12 billion in bonds in 6-part deal. And as soon as they mentioned that, we saw a lot of volatility in Goldman Sachs in particular. A lot of weakness, definitely in the QQQ tech stocks, SPY, IWM, all looking pretty ugly. So I'm not going to be surprised, honestly, if we have a gap down tomorrow as well, or at least a gap down for the morning, and then who knows how the market decides to shape up, depending what the market participants want to do. But I am not going to be surprised to see a gap down tomorrow. I mean, Tesla was selling off today too. Tesla, we had a put and play on this one under 1025, and it went, targeting about $1,000, and it actually even broke that support and went below that. So that sold off pretty heavily. So it was a tough day. A good way to hedge for sure was gold. We've been talking about gold. I know you've talked about gold as well. And so that's been a nice, if no one likes to go short or buy puts, you got to kind of go like, where's the money flowing? And so we're obviously seeing the money flowing into the gold sector. So like plays like GLD, GDX were great day trades, or even right now for a swing trade. I think those are some really nice setups there for hedging. Even if you are long on things and they're not, they're kind of red right now. I think the gold plays right now could be a good hedge if you're long on some plays, or if you don't want to
Yeah,
buy puts, go into some gold.
yeah, I just pulled up that GDX chart. I have some GDX I've had for years for my kids in the custodial accounts I have for them. Don't have any for myself, but that's a decent looking chart. I may have to pick some up for myself. What are your thoughts on QQQ? You mentioned Tesla may have something to do with QQQ going down. I'm not sure, but QQQ is right at the 200-day moving average. It's like what is it, a buck away? Very, very close to the 200-day moving average. Just barely touched it today, and it's the first time, man, since the COVID crash. First time since the COVID crash that we're touching the 200 DMA. Um, that's a little bit scary. It's not great when stocks go below the 200 DMA. So what's your thought on the Nasdaq here?
Well, I still think we'll probably see some weakness for a bit. I don't know how many days we'll see that for, but I definitely think it's definitely looking weak. So, we've mentioned in previous spaces, don't go too heavy right now. Just if you are like not really such a swing traders market, in terms of some of these tech plays, you can just day trade them in the direction that they're going, and obviously scalp them, grab that money, and obviously position size accordingly. Don't overexpose yourself and go super heavy. But definitely a good opportunity to day trade some. Not everyone's comfortable swing trading. I'm comfortable doing it, but depends on what. Like I'm comfortable right now trading, swing trading the gold, GLD and GDX, but I'm definitely not in a like I'm not. Let's say swing trading Tesla right now because I'm not comfortable trading Tesla. I'm not swing trading any Apple at all because it was looking really weak. Yesterday it was an overnight swing for a put, and that worked out today. But I mean, normally, people love Apple and will trade Apple, but I wasn't. I'm not in a comfortable right now trading Apple in either direction. So I'm just, trading what I'm comfortable doing, and I think that as a trader, everyone should be doing the same. Like, just trade what you're comfortable doing. And some people are not comfortable swinging anything right now, and that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with that.